Hi guys, welcome back to Perfect English with Adela. Today we're going to learn about the passive voice. It is the main part of English grammar. So in this pattern, we're going to practice and write the passive voice of the active voice. It looks somewhat difficult when changing the active voice into the passive voice. This is the structure for the active voice. So whenever changing the active voice into the passive voice, the object of the active voice becomes the subject for the passive voice. The passive voice structure as subject plus verb of be, one or two, verb of be in the infinitive or past simple form, and plus v3. The verb is always transitive, and plus or minus by phrase. This is the exact structure for the passive voice. Whenever changing the active voice into the passive voice, please remember the exact structure for the passive voice. Subject plus the infinitive form of the verb to be or the past simple form of the verb to be, which is according to the main verb in the active voice, and plus the past participle form of the main verb or the main verb in the active voice, which is transitive, and plus or minus the bad phrase, which is the draw of the action in the active voice. Okay. This structure is used for only main verbs. Here is an example. David broke the chair. Okay, in this sentence, David is the subject of the sentence. Broke is the verb. Which kind of verb is this? It is a past simple form of break. David broke the chair. David broke the chair. So the object of the active voice becomes the subject for the passive voice. Every sentence begins with capital letter like the chair. Look, here I used the verb broke is transitive. We always change the active voice into the passive voice if and only if the verb in the active voice is transitive. A transitive verb is followed by an object. It does not require a preposition. It is always followed by an object or a direct simple object, not a preposition. Here the chair is an object. So the transitive verb always followed by the object. David broke the chair. So in this sentence, the chair is, in this sentence, David is the subject of the sentence. Whereas broke is the transitive form of the main verb in the past simple form, and the chair is the object of the active voice. So whenever changing the active voice into the passive voice, the object of the active voice becomes the subject for the passive voice. So we always begin writing with capital letter the chair, and the verb is to. It is in the past simple form. So we use the auxiliary verb be in the past simple form too. Because of that, the verb broke in the active voice is the past simple form of the verb break. So I am supposed to use broke and instead the auxiliary verb to. If the main verb in the active voice is V1, we often use is or are or am. But if the main verb in the active voice is past simple, we are supposed to use the past simple form of the verb to be was or were. So here the chair is singular, so we must use was. The chair was, and the main verb from the active voice becomes the past participle form. Broke, broken. By David. The chair was broken by David. Okay. Have in mind, subject plus verb of be in the infinitive or past simple form of verb to be plus the past participle in the form of the transitive verb and plus or minus by phrase. In this structure, don't forget, we use by phrase or the door of the action. The door of the action in the active voice, if it is important or significant. Here, the chair was broken by David. So we may use or leave out the door of the action in the active voice. If it is important or significant, we may use the door of the action or the by phrase. If it is not important or interesting to identify, you're gonna simply leave out the door of the action, like by phrase. We may leave out, in some case, the door of the action in the active voice if we are not interested in the door of the action, or if the door of the action is someone and somebody, we're going to leave out that by phrase, because those nouns are indefinite pronouns. Since they are not specified, active sentence ወይም active statement ወደ passive voice ስንቀይር ብዙውን ጊዜ ማስታወስ ያለብን ቨርቡ ትራንሲቲቭ መሆን ነው። ትራንሲቲቭ ቨርብ የሚባሉት ደግሞ በኦብጀክት ይከተላሉ ወይም ደግሞ ኦብጀክት ያስከትላሉ ማለት ነው፣ ከመስተዋድድ ውጭ ማለት ነው። መስተዋድድ የሚያስከትሉ ቨርቦች ከሆኑ ኢንትራንሲቲቭ ይባላሉ። ስትራክቸሩ ምንድነው? ትራንሲቲቭ ቨርብ ፕላስ ሲምፕል ኦብጀክት ነው። ብዙውን ጊዜ ኢንትራንሲቲቭ ቨርብ ፕላስ ፕሪፖዚሽን ነው። A verb is transitive because it can transfer from the subject to the object. ምን ማለት ትራንሲቲቭ ቨርብ ማለት አረፍተ ነገሩ ባለቤት ወደ ተሳቢ ከተሳቢ ወደ አረፍተ ነገሩ ባለቤት የሚዘዋወር ግስ ተዘዋዋሪ ግስ ወይም ደግሞ ተሸጋጋሪ ግስ እንለዋለን። ተሸጋጋሪ ግስ ማለት ደግሞ የግድ ተሸጋጋሪ ግስ ለመሆኑ አንድ ኦብጀክት ይኖረዋል ማለት ሲምፕል ኦብጀክት ይኖራል ወይም ኦብጀክት ያስፈልገዋል ማለት ነው። because the meaning of the transitive verb depends upon the object of the sentence ይላል። የአረፍተ ነገሩ ባለቤት ኦብጀክቱ ተሸካሚ ወይም ተሳቢ የምንለው የግድ ስለሚያስፈልገው ያ የትራንሲቲቭ ቨርብን ትርጉም ተሸካሚ ስለሚሆን የግድ ኦብጀክት ያስፈልገዋል ማለት ነው። ስለዚህ ትራንሲቲቭ ቨርብ ፕላስ ኦብጀክት አለ ማለት ነው። የግድ ቨርብ ትራንሲቲቭ ከሆነ ኦብጀክት ይኖረዋል ማለት ነው። ወይም ደግሞ ኢንትራንሲቲቭ ከሆነ ደግሞ ከፊት ለፊቱ ኦብጀክት ነው የሚያስፈልገው። ከፊት ለፊቱ ምን ያስፈልገዋል? ፕሪፖዚሽን ይኖራል ማለት ነው። ፕሪፖዚሽን አለ ማለት ደግሞ ፕሪፖዚሽን ኦብጀክት ኦፍ ዘ ፕሪፖዚሽን ይባላል። ያን ኦብጀክት ኦፍ ፕሪፖዚሽን ይባላል። ስለዚህ ትራንሲቲቭ ቨርብ ፕላስ ኦብጀክት፣ ኢንትራንሲቲቭ ቨርብ ፕላስ ፕሪፖዚሽን ነው ስትራክቸሩ ማለት ነው። ቨርብ ትራንሲቲቭ እና ኢንትራንሲቲቭ ነው። ትራንሲቲቭ በራሱ ለምሳሌ ሰበረ፣ ተሰበረ፣ ጠጣ፣ ተጠጣ፣ በላ፣ ተበላ እንደዚህ አይነት ትርጓሜ ያላቸው ግሶች ናቸው የሚዘዋወሩ። ሞተ ተብሎ ተሞተ ይባል፣ ሄደ ተብሎ ተከሄደ ይባል። እንደዚህ አይነት ትርጉም ያለ ተኛ ተተኛ እንደዛ ይባል። እነዛ ቨርቦች ኢንትራንሲቲቭ ናቸው። አንደኛው ኦብጀክት አይፈልጉም፣ ሁለተኛው ኦብጀክት እንኳን ቢፈልጉ መስተዋድድ ነው የሚያስከትሉት። በዚህ አንፃር ትራንሲቲቭ እና ኢንትራንሲቲቭ ቨርብ መለየት አለብን። ትራንሲቲቭ ከሆነ ብቻ ነው አክቲቭ ቮይስም ወደ ፓሲቭ ቮይስ የምንቀይረው ማለት ነው። አክቲቭ ቮይስ ወደ ፓሲቭ ቮይስ ስንቀይር ስትራክቸር ነው። ሳብጀክት ፕላስ ቨርብ ኦፍ ቢ ዋን ኦር ቱ ማለት እዚህ ላይ የተሰጠው ቨርብ ቪ1 ከሆነ ከዚህ ላይ ኦክሲላሪ ቨርቡ ቪ1 ይሆናል። ከዚህ ጋር ቪ2 ከሆነ ከዚህ ጋር ኦክሲላሪ ቨርቡ ቪ2 ይሆናል ማለት ነው። ቪ3 የሚሆነው ከዚህ የነበረው የሚነበር ወደ ቪ3 ወደ ሶስተኛ ጊዜ ይቀየራል፣ ወደ ሶስተኛ ኃላፊ ጊዜ ይቀየራል ማለት ነው። ፕላስ ኦር ማይነስ ባይ ፍሬዝ ማለት ነው። ፕላስ ኦር ማይነስ ባይ ፍሬዝ ማለት የአክቲቭ ሴንቴንሱ ድርጊት ፈጻሚ ሊገለጽም ይችላል ማለት ነው። መቼ ነው የሚገለጸው? አስፈላጊ ከሆነ ከድርጊቱ ፈጻሚ ላይ እኛ አትኩሮት የምናደርግ ከሆነ የድርጊት ፈጻሚው የግድ መገለጽ ስለሚገባው ያኔ ፕላስ እንለዋለን ወይም እንጠቀማለን፣ ኢንክሉድ እናደርገዋለን ማለት ነው። ኢንክሉድ ስናደርገው ይባላል ዘ ዶር ኦፍ ዚ አክሽን ይባላል። ዘ ዶር ኦፍ ዚ አክሽን የድርጊቱ ባለቤት አስፈላጊ ነው ማለት ነው። እኛ በዛ ላይ ፈላጊ ነን ማለት ነው። ይሄኛው የድርጊቱ ፈጻሚ አያስፈልግም፣ አክቲቭ ቮይስ የድርጊቱ ፈጻሚ አያስፈልግም ካለ ደግሞ መተው እንችላለን። አንዳንዴ እንደ ምርጫ ይሆናል፣ ነገር ግን ሙሉ በሙሉ የምንተውበት ጊዜም አለ። የአክቲቭ ቮይሱ ድርጊት ፈጻሚ ኢመደበኛ ተውላጠ ስም ከሆነ ወይም ያልተገለጸ ተውላጠ ስም ወይም ኢንዴፊኒት ፕሮናውን ሳምዋን ሳምበዲ እንደዚህ አይነት ነገር የሚሆን ከሆነ የግድ ማንነቱ እስካልተገለጸ ድረስ ኤክስትራ አይዲያ ስለሚሆን መግለጹ ስለማያስፈልግ እንተዋለን ማለት ነው። በዚህን ጊዜ የባይ ፍሬዙ ምን ይሆናል ማለት ነው? እንጥለዋለን ማለት ነው። እዚህ ላይ አንድ ስትራክቸር አለ። የፓሲቭ ቮይስ ስትራክቸራችን ይሄ ነው። ማንረሳው ነገር ግን ይሄ ቨርብ በዚህ ጋር ቨርብ ቱ ቢ የሚኖረው ምን ነው የተፈርድ ነው። ይሄ ቨርብ ቱ ቢ የምንጠቀመው ይሄኛው ሜን ቨርብ ሲሆን ነው። ሜን ቨርብ ከሆነ ነው። ሁለተኛው ስትራክቸራችን ግን ሁለተኛው ደግሞ ሞዳል ኦክሲላሪ ቨርብ ከሆነ verb to be አይደለም የምንጠቀመው ራሱን ሞዳል ኦክሲላሪውን ነው የምንወስደው ማለት ነው። ለምሳሌ እሺ ሁለት አይነት ስትራክቸር ሊኖር ይችላል ብለን ቀድም እዚህ ጋር ሜን verb ካለ ከአክቲቭ ቮይሱ የግድ ሁሉ ጊዜ ከአክቲቭ ቮይሳችን ሜን verb ካለ ፓሲቭ ቮይስ ስለስንቀይር verb to be ነው የምንጠቀመው ማለት ነው። እዚህ ጋር ግን auxiliary verb ይባላሉ። there are about 9 main auxiliary verbs in English. Can, could, may, might, shall, should, ought to, had to, must, dare to, and need to. እነዛ ሜን ኦክሲላሪ ቨርቦች ከመጡ ራሳቸው ላይ ነው የምንጠቀመው ስትራክቸር ነው። እነሱ ኦክሲላሪ ቨርብ እናደርግና ፕላስ አድርገን ቢ ይሄኛውን ቨርብ ይሄን ቢን ፎርሙን ሜን ቨርብ ፎርሙን ይሄን ቢ እንጠቀማለን። አሁን ከዚህ ጋር this is the subject of the sentence. He could is the main auxiliary verb. This is the auxiliary verb. Draw is the main verb. The main verb. Main verb. But there is an auxiliary verb before the main verb. Here we never used an auxiliary verb before the main verb broke. But here we use another auxiliary verb. So we are supposed to form the passive voice upon the auxiliary verbs. According to the auxiliary verbs, okay, and this is the object of the sentence. Okay, so don't forget the object of the active voice becomes the subject for the passive voice. So the objective, the picture could, as it is, could be drawn. He could draw the picture. He could draw the picture. The picture could be drawn. ስዕሉን መሳል ችሏል። ስዕሉ በሱ መሳል ተችሏል ማለት። አንዳንዴ አክቲቭ ቮይስ ብቻ የምንጠቀምበት ግዴታ አለ። አንዳንዴ ደግሞ ፓሲቭ ቮይስ ብቻ የምንጠቀምበት ሁኔታ አለ። አንዳንዴ ደግሞ አክቲቭ እና ፓሲቭ ቮይስ እንደ ኦፕሽን የምንጠቀምበት ሁኔታ አለ በንግግራችን ውስጥ ማለት ነው። አንዳንዴ አክቲቭ ቮይስ ብቻ የምንጠቀመው መቼ ነው? ቨርባችን ምን ከሆነ ኢንትራንሲቲቭ ከሆነ የግድ አክቲቭ ቮይስ ብቻ ነው የምንጠቀመው። ኢንትራንሲቲቭ የሚባሉት ቅድም እንዳልኳቸው go, sleep, day, fly እንደነዚህ አይነት ቨርቦች ኢንትራንሲቲቭ ቨርቦች ናቸው። አንደኛው ኦብጀክት አይፈልጉም፣ ሁለተኛ ኦብጀክት እንኳን ቢፈልጉ ፕሪፖዚሽን ነው ብያቸዋለሁ ቀደም። ስለዚህ እንደዚህ ቨርቦች ከሆኑ ኢንትራንሲቲቭ ቨርቦች ከሆኑ አክቲቭ ቮይሱን ብቻ እንጠቀማለን። ወደ ፓሲቭ ቮይስ መቀየር አንችልም ማለት ነው። አንዳንዴ ደግሞ ፓሲቭ ቮይስ ብቻ የምንጠቀመው አክቲቭ ቮይስ የማይገለጻል። ኦኬ somebody stole my phone. Where is the subject of the sentence? Somebody. It is indefinite pronoun. Stole, it is main verb in the past simple form. What about the object of my phone? So don't forget the object of the active voice becomes the subject for the passive voice. So we always begin with capital letter my phone. So the main transitive verb stole, the past simple form of steal. So I must use was. Phone is singular. Was stolen. Stolen is the past participle form of the main verb, the main transitive verb steal. No need of adding the door of the action because the door of the action in the active voice is indefinite pronoun. That is indefinite. That is not clear. Even though it is not clear, we are not supposed to give the by phrase in the passive voice. My phone was stolen. ስልኬ ተሰረቀ። እዚህ ላይ ባይ ፍሬዙ ሳምበዲ የሚለው ወይም ሳሟን የሚለው አያስፈልግም። አንደኛ እርግጠኛም ስላልሆነ ዶር ኦፍ ዚ አክሽኑ ድርጊት የፈጸመውን እርግጠኛ ስላልሆነ። A verb is transitive if it is followed by an object that is transitive. An example? Okay. She makes cake. In this sentence, this is the subject, this is the verb, and this is your object. So the verb is transitive. It is transitive because it is followed by the object cake. So this is your object cake. So if the verb is transitive, there may be an object. So if there is an object in the active voice, the object of the active voice becomes the subject for the passive voice. If there is no an object in the active voice, it's unable to form a passive voice because without a subject, a sentence doesn't give meaning. By itself, there should be a subject in order to form a passive voice. That's why there is an object in the active voice to be changed into the passive voice. becoming the object of the active voice into this subject into the passive voice. So it is the verb is transitive because it's followed by the object cake. Okay. So the passive voice of this active sentence becomes the tense is V1. It is present simple. So cake is not a word. If the transitive verb in the active voice is in the infinitive form, we may use the infinitive of verb to be one. So cake is made by her. Cake is made by her. So this is the subject which was the object of the active voice. She makes cake. So cake was the object of the active voice. That's why we had an object from the active voice becomes the subject for the passive voice. Cake is made by her. She makes cake or cake is made by her. So the verb is transitive because it requires, because it's followed by an object, cake. Okay. What about intransitive verbs? The verb is intransitive because it's not followed by an object or it does not require an object. In some cases, it may be followed by a preposition. The preposition is sometimes called object of the preposition. So the object of the preposition can't be the subject for the passive voice. That's why we had an object in the active voice if the verb is intransitive. So it is unable to form a sentence without a subject in the passive voice. That is one reason why the verb is intransitive. For example, Ravi died. In the sentence, the verb died is intransitive. Ravi, the subject of the sentence, died is V2. Nevertheless, there is no object. Ravi died. Enough. So the verb is intransitive because there is no object or the verb is not followed by an object. So if there is no an object in the active voice, it is unable to form a passive voice. Sometimes the verb may be followed by a preposition of malaria. Maybe. Okay. Ravi died of malaria. Ravi died of malaria. So of malaria is a prepositional object. It couldn't be a subject for the passive voice because it doesn't give sense or meaning. Of malaria was died or it doesn't give any meaning. So the verb is intransitive because it's followed by a preposition. For example, if the verb is the main verb in the active voice, she drinks coffee. Coffee is drunk by her. Or she drank coffee. Coffee was drunk by her. Okay. If the active voice is with auxiliary verbs, Ravi can drink coffee. Coffee can be drunk by Ravi. Or Ravi has drank coffee. Coffee has been drank by Ravi. In general, don't forget the tense when changing the active voice, into the passive voice. Okay, have in your mind when changing an active voice into the passive voice, make sure the verb is transitive, which is followed by an object, and the tense, quite sure the tense of the active voice. Don't forget the passive voice always formed according to the tense kind from the active voice. If the active voice is present simple, going to be present simple passive voice. Ravi drinks coffee. Coffee is drank by Ravi. Ravi is drinking coffee. Coffee is being drunk by Ravi. Ravi has drank coffee. Coffee has been drunk by Ravi. Ravi has been drinking coffee. Coffee has been drunk by Ravi. Ravi drank coffee. Coffee was drank by Ravi. Ravi was drinking coffee. Coffee was being drunk by Ravi. Ravi had drank coffee. Coffee had been drunk by Ravi. Ravi had been drinking coffee. Coffee had been drunk by Ravi. Ravi will drink coffee. Coffee will be drunk by Ravi. Ravi will be drinking coffee. Coffee will be drunk by Ravi. Ravi will have drank coffee. Coffee will have been drunk by Ravi. Ravi will have been drinking coffee. Coffee will have been drunk by Ravi. That's all about 12 types of tense and the active voice. Okay, please make sure to subscribe in order to get the first lesson notification. That was the lesson we have for today. Bye bye.